Good morning. How are you all? Tis Wednesday, and the week is flying in. As I say every single day, you think I'd get bored of me hearing myself say it. Yep. We spoke yesterday about American, and we thought we'd bring it back over to our brethren over in Scotland and talk about that because there's quite a few in this month. As there is, actually, it's been growing and continuously growing, but we seem to get more and more weird and wonderful stuff. Going to kick it off with something that's up the top. Is the Game of Thrones set, and everybody's going, "Oh, they've been around forever," and yada yada yada, and all this stuff. That the price fell in them a wee bit. The actual price is rebounding a wee bit on the UK markets, especially. Could be a multitude of reasons. One of the reasons that I think might have a bit of influence in it, isn't there a spin-off series coming? Sort of prequel.
Yeah,
sort
it's
of
a couple
thing.
of 100 years before
Game of Thrones. It's coming, and I wonder, is that going to reinvigorate a bit of life back into it? But for those of you who are uninitiated, it was a set that Diageo brought out. So these are all products of Diageo distilleries that they brought out to sort of cash in, I think is the correct term, for the Game of Thrones TV series. So they were done for different families. So the House Baratheon, House Targaryen, House Stark. The Night's Watch is the lads above in the wall thing. The House Tully, Greyjoy, Tyrell and Lannister. At the time there was the White Walker as well. I think we have one of them somewhere. Was the Johnny Walker, White Walker. And then they followed it up with those two, which is the Song of Ice and the Song of Fire.
Jon Snow's wolf and Daenerys' dragon.
You read the book? Did you read the book?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you also were engrossed in it.
Yes.
But that's because you were looking at the half-naked men half of the time.
No.
Yeah, you were. Dirty bird. Six Kingdoms. This was only brought out, I think, about a year ago, 18 months ago. Again, with COVID, it's hard to bloody know. But that was a limited edition, 15-year-old from Mortlock as well. Remember we were playing games with the frozen one, the White Walker and all that, when you put it in the freezer and it comes out and the eyes glow and all that sort of stuff.
That was mental.
So the absolute bottom fell out of them. They went below retail, but they're bouncing back up, and they have been doing quite well recently in our auction. So I just thought I'd mention them because we sort of do have a set nearly every month or two, and that. Where am I going to start? I'm going to start with this month from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society.
Which you love.
Bananas names have we come up with this month? We've got Hopping Mad, we've got Shiver Me Timbers, and we've got Pleasing Sweetness, Playful Heat.
Yay.
I've got to get in on those meetings when they name these things, because that's just mad stuff. Glenallachie, 1989. Again... You know, if you were to buy in 1989 from any of the distilleries here in Ireland, you're paying top dollars. These single malts, single barrels as well, seem to do very well. I think that's bottle 421 of 525 and aged 29 years, 29-year-old. Benromach, 10-year-old. They are always sought after. Wolfburn. So Wolfburn, this is one that they brought out for Father's Day. Limited to only 720 bottles, sherry aged and first fill sherry casks. That's nice. Longrow. The reason I put Longrow up there is because Longrow and Springbank and all these ones are really getting a huge following. Those aged Longrows are getting top dollar. An old bottle of Glenlivet. I love Glenlivet. I think it is probably the easiest drinking single malts. It's not offensive. It doesn't do anything with you. It's just nice, fruity. It and the Glenmorangies, I think, are just... People sort of nearly wash over them because they sort of think, Scotch has got to be this big, mad, powerful, either peaty or
smoky
big Highland malts or something like that. The Speyside stuff isn't like that, and it really is really, really good. Glendronach. Probably one of our favourites. There's a few Glendronachs. There's a 12 over there. I think there's a few more as well. There's the new one. They're only after bringing out some new releases, and they're after bringing out I think it's a 30-year-old or 35-year-old Glendronach in a decanter. Gorgeous. It had a gorgeous price too.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
I did. Yeah, no. Lefrogue, quarter casks. Them quarter casks are literally a concentrated Lefrogue, concentrated Isle of whiskies. They are such mad, peaty, malty, everything. They're just concentrated, and I actually ABV in them. That's only 48%, but it still tastes more and tastes stronger. The reason I threw the Arran malt up there is because the Isle of Arran distillery is for Cullen. So Mike Pearce and the family over there would have done the Isle of Arran distillery beforehand, and they are doing really, really well. Actually, they're kicking on. But that one's done also in Amarone. So it'd be unusual to have these unusual cask finishes in Scotland per se, unless they're done by independents. None of the big ones do it. So the Amarone is another one. Glenfarclas, like you're from Dublin. Glenfarclas. Glenfarclas 09. The reason I threw that up is because that's one of the original flame fed, or still a flame fed distillery in Scotland. Okay. We're getting back in love with them and the uniqueness of a flame fed still, and what it does to whiskey as it comes out of it and all that sort of stuff. So it's not a good one. Cadenheads, threw that up. Cadenheads, that was done for the virtual open day in 2020, so obviously nobody could go to Cadenheads. Only 552 bottles. These simple labels that come out of the Cadenheads shops is highly sought after. The cage bottles, we've had a few of them in the past, and I know lads have gone on about them. I just thought I'd better put this up because, well, it's me, isn't it?
A wee mongrel.
A wee mongrel. Oh, and you wee mongrel. 20-year-old blended malt, 52%. Again, the price point for aged Scotch, aged blended Scotch, and people dismiss blended whiskies. They sort of go, it's, you want your single malts and all that sort of stuff. I've said it out loud, that I actually think there's more of a finesse, there's more of a deft touch, more of a skill nearly.
To getting a good blend.
Blend. Good blenders are worth the weight in gold. And apparently, here's, women are, I don't say better blenders, but women are really exceptionally good blenders because of the palate, that have a more refined palate than us men who are used to eating meat and manly stuff, and whereas women are ladies and dainty and all that sort of stuff. And delicate.
No.
If anybody ever called you delicate, you decked them. W&A Gilby. So that's a Spey Royal, that's a Scotch. W&A Gilby, everybody in Ireland would know W&A Gilby as Gilby's Redbreast, exactly. Yeah. So they were a huge organisation, and that was one of the things that they done as well. That's an old bottle. It's an alright nick, I mean, again, considering its time, but you can see the influence of, I've seen them with the dimple bottles, the triangular bottles and all that sort of stuff. Again, I sort of just threw that up because I seen it there. 10-year-old Speyburn, again, pennies. They just go so cheap. It really is one of the things that it is. The things I've brushed over are two of them. So this is a Macallan rare black cask.
Oh, that's pretty.
It is pretty. Macallan do some gorgeous presentation.
Wow.
The glossy black bottle, again, it's the funny shape, and it's also got a pewter flask in it as well. But I thought I'd show that off because
that is pretty.
This type of Macallan are the ones that are just, I mean, Folio 1, I think Folio 1 when it came out was about 200 quid. I think around 200 quid. I think the last one sold for 9,000. Folio 6, again, I think it was only out a year ago, and it was out at £300. I think now they're up in the 1,000 and the 1,300. So they're just going stratospheric. That is probably one of the ones going to go. Here's again one of my sort of statements of, that's a 36-year-old Highland malt. Again, limited to only 2,100 bottles. That's 663, 51.2% for a 36-year-old whiskey. I think is outstanding. Again, a bit of a collectability to them because there are only that many of them and they get good price. But what I wanted to allude to on this was marketing. It's fantastic. Marketing gives us the bottles, the stories that go along with it. So you have all the what's that called?
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yeah, that's the one I couldn't think of. So marketing gives us all of these things and the stories to go along with it. And in some instances in Ireland recently, they've been sort of alluding to a great uncle that once held a bottle of whiskey in his hand and he was, yeah. But this one, I have to say, I think takes the bicky.
Why?
On the front of the bottle, it says Glenury Royal's celebrated founder, Captain Robert Barclay, became the first man to walk a mile each and every hour for 1,000 hours in succession. A spectacular feat reflected in the vigour of this gloriously mellow 36-year-old single malt whiskey.
How has him walking got anything to do with whiskey?
Absolutely, Katie. It's got nothing to do with it whatsoever, but isn't it fantastic to put it on the front of a bottle saying, your man walked a mile each and every hour for 1,000 hours in succession. That's great. And it's one of them things that somebody stand there and go, well done. What in the bleeding Jesus has that got to do with whiskey? Unless he was steamed doing it. If he was hammered doing it. Walking an hour. I'm walking a mile. I don't to walk a mile. I'd be doing well to walk a mile at the minute. But walking a mile every hour for 1,000 hours.
In succession.
Hammered drunk. That's warrants. I'd put my name and my photo and me standing at the end line like buckled. That'd be it.
Yeah, no,
but other than that, no idea. Somebody thought it fit. Somebody in marketing said, that's a great idea. Let's do that. Yeah. I'm in a bit of a rant mood this week.
All week. Just.
What is that about?
I don't know, sweetie.
It was my birthday. Do you think it's the age thing?
I think so, yeah.
Did I tell anybody it was my birthday? You were going around telling everybody it was your birthday.
I wasn't.
You were, so everybody goes, happy birthday, Katie. You're still milking that wee bit as well, by the way.
Anyhow, whiskey.
That's it.
Is that all we're doing?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it was.
You sure your rant's finished?
No, when I picked it up and seen it, I just went, are you taking them?
But it's pretty bottle and
It
pretty
is
presentation.
But what the has the man got to do walking? I mean,
we're going to end this
might
video
as well
now
have said
because
he stood breathing for an hour.
Right, Anthony, say bye-bye to everybody. We'll be back tomorrow maybe with some Japanese and stuff. Something super.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take him out and have him breathe and have a coffee maybe.
Oh, I have coffee here.
Well, then drink your coffee.
I'm alright.
Good man.
Yeah.
And we'll see you tomorrow. So bye-bye.
He was walking.